So, I was talking to Jimmy Baldwin the other day about the plot of his new book, and he says to me, I just want to make sure it's not one of those problem novels. I said, Jimmy, your novel is about a Negro homosexual in love with a Jew. Wouldn't you call that a problem? Me? Well, I decided that I'm going to follow Breakfast at Tiffany's by blazing a new path, by inventing an entirely new kind of writing, the non-fiction novel. See, on the night of November 14th, 1959, two men broke into a quiet farmhouse in Kansas and murdered an entire family. Now, it's been suggested that the subject is tawdry. It isn't worthy of literature. I disagree. Two worlds exist in this country: the quiet, conservative life, and then the life of those two young men, the criminally violent underbelly. Those two worlds converge that bloody night, and that is what I want to write about. This has changed my life, altered my point of view about almost everything. I think those who read it will be similarly affected, but such a book can only be written by someone who has mastered the techniques of fiction. Hello, Truman Capote from the New Yorker. Published in 1969 in Cold Blood, called the crime novel of the century, illustrates small-town crime turned nationwide affair. Going into it, Truman Capote was unaware of not only the hard work, but also the emotional toll it would take to write. As he delved further into his research, he became more entangled in his story, spiraling slowly into a state of mental anguish. Capote, by Dan Fletcher. I spent months interviewing everyone in Kansas affected by the violence. I spent hours talking to the killers. But it doesn't matter who the killers are. What matters is who the townspeople imagine the killers are. Imagination, of course, can open any door, turn the key, and let terror walk right in. The villagers of Holcomb were used to sleeping at night with their doors unlocked. We should have all bought stock in master lock because all of Kansas City was in the hardware store the next day. You know, people wouldn't talk to me here. I was getting a lot of that. You know, they wanted someone, well, someone like you. Me, they hated. You know, it is the hardest when people have a notion about what is impossible to convince them of. Ever since I was a child, folks have thought they had me pegged because of the way I look and the way I talk. And they're always wrong. I saw the bottom, the family. It comforted me. Something so horrifying that normal life slips away. But then I never was much for normal life, now was I? You know, I wasn't looking for any inside information. I didn't care one way or another if they caught whoever did this. You will be stunned by one of the killers, though. Perry Smith. He is as short as I am and almost as pretty. Little. Terrible. Perry's voice was both gentle and pretty. A voice that, though soft, manufactured each sound exactly. Hello, Perry. I came to get permission to interview you. Would you like an aspirin or a glass of water? Well, you let me know if you need anything, all right? Not one person here understands the end of a life. But if you had met him, you would understand. You know, I can sense it. You know, he was so desperately lonely, frightened. It was as if no one had ever asked him a single question about himself before. He was so unexplored. Perry was the only person who could describe to me what happened the night of the killings. I needed to hear him say it. You know, most people assume that Perry is a monster. But I don't see it. The book I'm writing will return him to the realm of humanity. It's the book I was always meant to write. You know, he wanted so badly to be taken seriously, to be held in some kind of esteem. Well, he was a gold one. I mean, he told me his entire life, and all I had to do was write it down. All the history I knew. A dead mother, a brother and sister who killed themselves. We had been talking our heads off. I was already well into the third part of the book when the Kansas court denied their appeal. I needed to talk to Perry quickly. He would be dead by September. What I can't decide is if you understand how fascinating you are. Oh, don't be sorry about my time. They took it away from you because you were all on suicide watch. I hope we're past that now, Perry. You had me worried. It's just a pity because the tie looks so good on you. Perry, if I leave here without understanding you, the world will always see you as a monster, and I don't want that. I'd like to take your journal with me. I want to read it. It was remarkable. I knew he trusted me, and that's why he gave his journal to me. He gave me absolutely everything I needed. Well, in writing at least. Here's the part I wanted to read you. We heard that there was $10,000 in that house. Dick went tearing through the walls looking for a safe. He said when he was done, he was going to come up to Nancy's room and have his way with her. But I wouldn't allow it. I told him that. Hello, Perry. I'm sorry I've been away. It was a while I know. But I decided on a title for my book, and I think you will like it. It's very, masculine. In Cold Blood. Well, Perry, if I'm going to determine how to write about you, I need to know what happened that night at the house. I sat with Nancy. Dick kept saying no witnesses. I figured if we waited long enough, we could leave the family tied up in the basement. Father kept looking at me, looking at my eyes like he expects me to be the kind of person who would kill him. Perry, I need you to talk to me. Perry, trust me, there is not a sentence or a concept that you can illuminate for me. There is one particular reason I keep coming here, and that is November 14th, 1959. 3 years ago. That is all I want to hear coming out of your mouth. I was ashamed. I thought he was a good man. I thought so right up until the moment I cut his throat. I didn't realize what I did until I heard the sound. This is absurd. This is my work, Perry. You know, I am your friend, and I choose to be here with you. But I have spent 4 years of my life on this book, and there is not a damn end in sight, and I am desperate to be done with it. It is torture, what you are doing to me. We just stood there and watched him bleed to death on the ground. We couldn't leave him like that, so I told him to finish him off. But he wouldn't do it, so I got the shot. What do you think of me now? On April 14th, Perry Edward Smith was hanged until he died. I was unable to make it to the prison to see him before the necktie party. I don't know what you must think. I mean, you understand why I didn't want to go, right? There wasn't anything I could have done to save him. And I tried. I truly did. You know, people say that I used Perry. But the truth is, I think I fell in love with him. How both of those things can be true is beyond me. You know, it's as if Perry and I started off life in the same house. You know, one day he got up and walked out the back door while I walked out the front. With some different choices, he is the man I might have become. Sometimes when I think how good my book can be, I can hardly believe